Getting go.
I think the next one. This one's boring. It's just 'cause you like them.
Cock-a-doodle-doo. Shout out to you, Bunsey and J-Maz. We're moving on to the Sydney Roosters, who were a first-round exit in what was a commendable year that poor Trent Robinson didn't have enough talent to make the 8, and they'll probably miss it because Sam Walker isn't there, even though he's not that good. But here comes Robert Toya, here comes Nwanganitawase, here comes Savala, and things changed. They make the 8. They go as 3-point favourites to Shark Park and lose due to their own stupidity. And for a letter grade, you will think I'm being too harsh, I believe, but I'm giving them a C+. They made the 8. No one thought they would make the 8, but at the end of the week, at the end of the year, I feel like when you genuinely, objectively look at what they ran out there in the last 4 to 6 weeks of this competition, they should have achieved more than 0 finals wins. And for that reason, I'm giving them a C+. MVP, there was a few candidates, but I went James Tedesco. Anyone that wins the Dahlia medal is the MVP of their own team. LVP, Angus Crichton was awful from start to finish of this season. I mean, from winning the Wally Lewis medal to playing like dirt every round, he was particularly bad in my eyes. Best win of the season of any team genuinely was week 2, going as 24.5-point underdogs with tradies in the forward pack and beating Penrith, which was hilarious. They've had some bad losses, but in hindsight, losing to Titans by 18 is unforgivable by all metrics.
That was a few weeks later.
What stood out was the emergence of the next crop of the Roosters DNA. Marky Mark, Robert Toya, Hugo Savala, Nafahu White. Their record against the spread ends at 13-12. What letter grade performance are you giving the Chooks? Cock-a-doodle-doo, mate.
You know what? Surprising. Because it's the teams I scream at I give the best ratings to. A-.
A? Why? You screamed at Robinson for 12 months
Yeah,
and you
but
give him
I
an A?
always scream Robinson. I actually didn't scream at him this much this year.
Yeah, you coached really well.
He did coach
When
really
they went
well.
out and dropped it 50 times against Sharks.
They're not competing to them. Anyway. MVP, James Tedesco, it's not even a question. LVP, I'm going to copy the same thing because Jaggers cried. Fuck me. I mean, where are your offloads, cunt?
Yeah.
Most impressive win, Dogs.
The dagger they put into him.
Fucking hell, they destroyed him. Most loss, there's a plethora, but I think the true pinnacle has to be the Tigers.
Tigers, yeah.
Oh
I
my
knew you'd say
God. Holy fuck, that was funny.
I can't even picture who they lost to.
I don't know. Remember they didn't have Luai? They had Heath. They lost to Heath.
Yeah, Heath and Latu. Fucking
why I gave him an A, no one thought, including myself, that these cunts were a chance. And truly, one thing Robinson actually does genuinely well, which is surprising, because it's much more difficult than doing the normal shit well, is his young players or players that just joined the team always play gun. Savala from nothing, gun. Robert Toya from nothing, plays 3 Origin games, locks up Latrell. Marky Mark, the most annoying winger I've ever seen in my entire life. 3 players, not just saying that, Nafau White, incredible. He's sacked the Butchers off, which is fantastic because they keep dropping it. He sacked Baker off. That's fantastic because they keep dropping it. Look, this team, like, on paper, come the end of the year, was like, holy fuck, Roosters are good. And at the start, after that first loss, I was just like, these cunts are finished.
Until I defended them in week 2.
Beyond. Like, I truly thought this is it for Robinson. He might get fired this year. There were 24-point dogs. But then the young players showed up for him, and I was like, they saved this season. Then I watched them lose to Titans, and I was like, this is the same shit I see every year. But look, they hung in there. And why I've got them in there, why I got them so high is because, 1, no one thought of it. 2, they probably have the biggest platform to jump and easiest platform to jump to that next level. And you know what? When you lose by 10 points to Sharks, let's disregard the facts of the betting markets completely. If you just look at it on paper, from the start of the year to the finish, Sharks should be 3-point favourites, minimum, in the finals game. Because Sharks were touted, we were saying behind the premiership, we were saying top 4 easy, this team has an easy run. Roosters, yeah, they probably won't make the 8. Sam Walker's out for this period of time. Brandon Smith's out for this period of time. Yet, when it got to that time, the betting market said, you know what, Roosters are favourite. Roosters have been the better team. They're not. They weren't. And they were completely wrong. But they lost to a team that should have been in front of them prediction-wise. And Sharks should have been way in front of them. They should have been in the top 4. And they had to play tooth and nail with this Roosters team who literally were in the fight until Sam Walker wants to do some breakdancing on the wing and go down 12-4 at half time. If that's 6-4, you don't know what happens in the second half. They score first in the first half through our boy Angus Crichton. But they scored first in the second half, but it didn't matter because these guys were down 8. They scored first. Sharks put them away, and that essentially killed the game with the Rudolph try.
It's too hard to stop Rudolph with your season on the line.
Of course. I get that, but for them, their whole run until then, I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to scream at Robinson. Next year's a whole different story because they have all the talent. They get Robson in. They have now a backline full of Origin players, plus maybe Joseph Manu, who's been talking around in the news, coming back to Roosters. We're talking about the best team on paper all over again. Can they perform? And we've seen years that they seem to capitulate to Melbourne and Penrith. And that's where I will essentially give them the D's and the E's and the F if that sort of happened. But not this year, because this year is not expected. And for me, was definitely not. Roosters, keep your heads up high. Next year is a big year, though, because you're versing a bunch of teams that were there this year and nothing much changes. You are the newcomer on the block and essentially saying, all right, we're Roosters. We got Robinson. Let's see how far you guys go. But this year, A-.
Fair enough. I feel like you're being a bit too generous towards the Chooks faithful. I know you're a secret Roosters fan.
Yeah.
I can't go to an A, but obviously they do get credit for a lot of things. I think my take when I made the reel of them 10 weeks ago was, in the end, very accurate, that you can't ride this team too high and you can't ride this team too low. When they concede 50 to Brisbane in week 1, you can't write them off and be like they're a dirt club. The following week where they go and beat Penrith, you can't be like, oh, well, they're actually good again, because then they're going to go to Titans and lose. They're going to go to Tigers and lose. But they're going to annihilate Melbourne, and then they're going to annihilate Penrith again. Sorry, no, Penrith actually murdered them the second time. Apologies.
What was that dumb? That was a dumb loss. There was another dumb loss in there.
Where they went and murdered Dogs. That was like, oh, fuck, okay,
Yeah.
They're awake. And that stretch of the season that defined them was when they played their competition. They beat Manly in Manly. They put 60 on Dolphins, and then they beat Dogs. Then it was like, okay, they've announced themselves as, we're here now.
But then Roosters being Roosters, they lose the power.
But again, they lost the power again for no reason, which was a candidate for the worst loss. Also, sneaky worst loss was the Melbourne one, where Lindsay Collins scored and Jerome Hughes dislocated his shoulder, and Pappy and Munster didn't even play, and they lost to Harry Grant by himself. Was just like typical Roosters. But
it's Roosters.
At the end of the day, look, my biggest takeaway is, in a year that they were touted to be awful, they emerge out of that year of, well, we get Robson, and who knows what the fuck will happen with Cherry Evans next year.
Yeah, 100%.
And everyone comes into this star-studded lineup, and the premiership window is opened again out of thin air for these pricks. And you got to respect them as a club. They're always talented. They're always in the mix. But do they always perform to their potential? I feel like I don't like to look too much at preseason expectation, because by the end of the season, Sharks showed that they're not that good that we thought they would be. And you can't show that you actually are capable of being better than them, and that's why you were laying 3.5, and in the end you just fell short, and I can't give you anything higher than a C+, but it was a good season considering the expectations, and you move forward to potentially contending in a year upcoming where there's no real prohibited standout, oh, these guys are $3 to win the premiership kind of thing,
Other
right?
than Brisbane, apparently.
Well, Brisbane were like $5.50 or something.
They were
as the favourites.
$4.75 now.
Sure, they've shortened a bit, but it's not normal that you see. Over the years, it's been Penrith $3, Penrith $2.80. Last year was Melbourne $3.20. To see the favourites be $4.80 implies that, you know what, this competition's a bit up for grabs. So we'll see what happens with you idiots.